This short video explains how to solve using a simple Bayesian network, a classic probability problem which most people get wrong because it seems counterintuitive. Suppose we've got two hospitals, A and B. Hospital A is quite a large hospital and it has on average 45 births per day. Hospital B is much smaller and it has on average 15 births per day. Now, assuming that a male birth is just as likely as a female birth, which hospital is more likely to have more than 60% male births on any one day? Most people assume that the answer to this question is Hospital A, the bigger hospital, but that's a classic case of risk misperception. And what I'll now demonstrate using a simple causal Bayesian network model is the correct solution to this problem. So here is the Bayesian network model in AgenaRisk. So let's look at each of these nodes in turn. The first thing to note is that these three nodes, average number of births per day, and number of male births, are numeric nodes, but in particular these are simulation nodes, which means that they were created by selecting this icon. Average number of births per day is the default type when you choose simulation, which is continuous interval. Whereas births per day, we want that to be an integer. And so after defining that as a simulation node, in the node type, we selected integer interval there. Similarly for number of male births, because that's also an integer. This node, which is asking the question, is male births greater than 60%, is simply a Boolean node, whose states are true or false. We're going to want to input the average number of births per day for different hospitals. So let's just see how this is defined. And its node probability table is defined simply as a uniform distribution. I mean, I've put the upper bound 100 here, I could have put anything. So we'll be able to put in any particular observation like 45 or 15 for the two particular hospitals here, but we could put in any value between 0 and the upper bound that I chose there. Now the number of births per day is of course a probability distribution. It's chosen as an integer interval, which means that we can choose the Poisson distribution as one of the integer type probability distributions in AgenaRisk. And a Poisson distribution has just a single parameter, which is the mean. So in this case, that's simply the parent node, which is the average number of births per day. So this will give us the probability for any particular number of births per day. Before showing you that, I'm going to name scenario 1 as Hospital A. So let's enter the observation here for Hospital A of 45. Now run the model. And there we can see the distribution of births per day. So for example, the probability of getting exactly 45 births per day is of course quite unlikely. Now the number of male births per day is also a binomial distribution, where the number of trials is simply the parent node number of births, and the probability of success, which is we're talking about here, the probability of having a male birth, is simply assumed to be a half, 0.5. So because I've already run the computation here you can see the distribution for number of male births. Well, how have we defined this node? Well, of course, it's just defined in terms of the parent nodes, which are births per day and number of male births. And it simply says, if male births divided by births is greater than 0.6, so if the proportion of male births is greater than 60%, then this is going to be true, else false. And of course, we can now reveal that, and it's telling us that there's an 8.738% chance that this is true. Well, of course, what we're interested in here is comparing this with Hospital B. So what we're going to do here is add a new scenario. We'll call this Hospital B. And we're going to enter a value here, which is 15, the smaller hospital. Let's bring this up. Now, when I run the model, we're going to see both scenarios. So there's our Hospital A, and there's our Hospital B. And it turns out, as you can see here, that there's a greater probability that Hospital B, which is the green distribution, has more than 60% male births on any given day than Hospital A. And that's because with the smaller numbers that you get with Hospital B, small increases above the daily average are more likely to push it above 60% males than the larger numbers in Hospital A.